I choose to review a firearm, it's not rare, at least for me, that the firearm is no longer produced. European American Armory Incorporated, or EAA as most know it, is a Rockledge, Florida-based firearms company which imports a number of different handguns, shotguns, and rifles to the United States, among which is the Witness line of pistols, modified clones of the Czech CZ75, CZ85 pistol. Hey, it's the Range Ronin. Stay tuned, because I happen to have, for review, a Witness compact pistol chambered in .45 ACP, and I am going to tell you all about it. Although imported by EAA at some time, the pistol is clearly a Tanfoglio product, as is marked as Tanfoglio on the left side grip panel, and because of the FT, made in Italy, stamped on the left rear of the frame, where FT stands for Fratelli Tanfoglio. Tanfoglio has a complete line of pistols, of which the defense and law enforcement steel family is part of. It would seem that this pistol has been replaced by the Compact F, a frame-mounted thumb safety polymer pistol that is currently present on the Tanfoglio website, but in 9mm. This pistol is a pistol of the past, and it would seem a rarity, given the .45 ACP chambering. The Witness that I am reviewing poses somewhat of a challenge, in that there is no information available at all for it. So, I'm going to do my best to muddle on through this review, without much empirical data to work with. So, let me roll through the specifications, and then get moving on with the features, because this fine pistol has many of them. My first impression of the EAA Witness that I am looking at is that it is simply an oversized CZ75, double-action, single-action, compact, all-steel pistol, with no decocking mechanism, or maybe even an undersized CZ97B. So where to begin this review? Well, let me talk about the upper first, the slide assembly. Except for the very large hole in the barrel that peeks out slightly from the slide, you will notice the full-length guide rails, which tells you that the frame rails are internally cut and full length, just like the CZ75, but more on that frame later. The slide lies low on the frame, again, like a CZ, and which lowers the real estate that fingers can grab and the bore axis of the pistol. But there are front and rear serrations that provide enough gripping surface for the fingers to actuate the slide in either direction, back for press checking or for cycling the slide from a full forward in battery condition to a rear slide-locked open position. A full-length all-steel guide rod, which is not captive, is barely visible at the front of the slide where no beveling takes place to aid in the holstering of the firearm. A fixed, single, white dot front sight tells us where the front of the pistol will point when looked at through the drift adjustable for windage only rear sight. That is a 2 white dot unit. Unlike the CZ counterpart, which has fluorescent dots, these are just plain old white, albeit the rear sight dots have faded somewhat. Actually, the rear sight seems somewhat crude, but does have enough real estate on the front side to accommodate racking the slide against a hard surface, if need be. The top of the slide is serrated to cut glare almost throughout the length of the slide. The slide finish is called Wonder Finish, and I wonder what that finish actually is. Internal to the slide, the usual bees and beasts are there. A very stout, double-wound recoil spring, full-length guide rod, a 3-inch stainless steel barrel of the Browning lengthless type, firing pin assembly, and disconnector plunger. The caliber is clearly marked on the outside of the barrel's chamber, so you know what cartridge should be loaded. Looking to the rear of the chamber is the slide's external extractor. It seems to do a fine job of stripping cartridges, fired or not, from the barrel's chamber, where an internal ejector takes over from there to expel those cartridges like a disruptive heckler at a silent retreat. The slide-to-frame fit is excellent, just a hint of side-to-side play taking place, but the barrel is rock solid during full lockup. And, speaking of the frame, let me get to that. The lower, the frame, is of steel and has the same wonder finish as the slide. As with the slide, the finish is nicely and evenly applied, and like the slide, provides a flat, non-glare look to the pistol. Full-length internal rails attest to the CZ influence, because as we should realize, the Tanfoglio is a clone of the CZ. This should not come as a surprise. The frame alone, empty and without a magazine installed, weighs in at 1 pound 1.8 ounces and contributes greatly to the 1 pound 15.9 ounces of total unloaded weight. Rounding off some decimals, the pistol is a 2-pound pistol unloaded. There is no attachment rail. That pleases me, with lines flowing nicely from point to point. Witness, with EAA Coco FLA, adorns the left front of the frame, while the serial number adorns the right front of the frame, with read warnings when using guns stamped on the right rear of the frame. Just to sidetrack a bit, imagine, if you will, a firearm being controlled by software. First, you would have to boot up the pistol and enter your 4-digit code. Then, before operating the pistol, a question would appear on the sighting screen. Have you read all warnings? If no, read all warnings before operating the firearm. If yes, verify your age. After verifying that you are over the age permitted by the government to operate a handgun, you are allowed to operate the pistol. Egads. Okay, back to the matter at hand, the frame. The grip panels are rubber, nicely shaped, and finely textured with a pebble-like pattern. The grip frame itself has a slight undercut at the rear of the trigger guard, a nicely extended undercut at the top rear that provides an extension to protect the hand from slide and hammer bite, an arched and serrated back strap and front strap, and is of sufficient length to get all non-firing digits on the grip. The grip is wide, as needed, to house magazines stuffed with 8 rounds of 45 ACP ammunition. The magazine has a very predominant floor plate that offers a ledge of sorts to keep the fingers well situated on the grip. Trigger reach in double action mode is right at 2 7/8 inches, and while in single action mode, the trigger reach is about 2 5/8 inches. Even with my shooting hand surrounding the grip, there is adequate enough space to get the sport hand onto the grip to sport this compact pistol when firing those 45 ACP cartridges. The trigger housing is a smooth and rounded piece of work, Although a sport forefinger could be placed on the front of the trigger guard, there is really no provision to hold it there, like a squared-off serrated area. The trigger itself is highly curved, smooth-faced, and slightly rounded. As far as trigger pull weight, let me roll into that. Rolling back the trigger in double action mode revealed that 7 pounds 8.3 ounces were necessary to drop the hammer. Resistance begins as you start pulling the trigger and does not let up until 1. You pull the hammer to the half-cock position and stop, or 2. Continue with the trigger pull until the hammer drops, after which there seems to be very little, if any, over travel. After a round is fired from double action mode and the slide is forced to the rear, the single action mode is entered. In single action mode, about 1/2 inch of free travel is needed before you engage resistance. From that point, a very short and soft pull of 1 pound 1.4 ounces is only required to drop the hammer. The break is soft, not crisp, like with a fully single action firearm, but that is to be expected with a double action single action pistol. I mentioned the half-cock hammer position. This is not uncommon with double-action, single-action pistols. The half-cock hammer position can be attained by either manually pulling the hammer to the half-cock notch or by pulling the trigger, when in double-action mode, to the rear until the hammer falls into the half-cock notch. Note that carrying with the hammer at half-cock and the thumb safety off or on is a common carry condition, although many would just opt to leave the thumb safety in the off-fire position. Remember, this pistol does not have a decocking mechanism. When in the single-action mode, the hammer must be decocked manually, like a 1911, or any pistol without a decocking mechanism. The finger pinch method of decocking a single-action revolver also applies here. Keeping the finger away from the trigger, first, pinch the hammer between the middle finger and thumb of the sport hand. Follow that up with the sport hand forefinger being placed on the hammer face. To lower the hammer to the full rest position, pull and hold the trigger to the rear, while using the pinch method to slowly allow the hammer to fall fully forward. To decock to the half-cock notch, pull and then release the trigger, while using the pinch method to slowly allow the hammer to fall to the half-cock notch. The Witness is safe to carry with the hammer down on a loaded chamber, with or without the thumb safety in the up safe position, or the hammer in the half-cock notch with the thumb safety off or on safe, although positioning the thumb safety up effectively prevents the pistol from being operated, as it does when the hammer is at full rest. Or, Condition 1, cocked and locked, hammer at full cock, safety on, and the chamber loaded. For me, I would carry with the hammer down, or hammer at half-cock with the thumb safety off. The double-action trigger pull weight is enough of a safety for me. Note that this is the same manner of carry as would be with a Beretta 92 M9, Sig Sauer, CZ, or other double-action, single-action pistol. Okay, with features past me, let me ask you a question. Would you like me to address maintenance? Okay, that works for me. I'll just mention that the Witness disassembles and reassembles the same as any CZ pistol. You can look that up on your own. So, let's get to some shooting. See how this compact Witness and .45 ACP does at the range. With the Witness and .45 ACP at the range, I did not really know what to expect. Well, I really can't say that. Given that the Witness is somewhat of a CZ75 clone, some things are expected. Things like CZ-like handling, with the low bore axis, excellent ergonomics, and CZ-like reliability. With an all-steel double-action single-action handgun like the Witness, especially when chambered in the .45 ACP flavoring, and with a 3.6-inch barrel, one can expect felt recoil and muzzle rise to be much more pronounced than with a 9mm powered pistol. How much? Well, I am about to experience how much, and you are about to see for yourself. I am interrupting this range session to talk about that shooting left of center issue. At this point in the session, I am realizing that something is not quite copacetic with the pistol. I am not the best of pistol shooters, but I do a pretty good job of sighting in a pistol on where I need to sight it. Trying to compensate the best I can. It is nearly a futile effort. Looking at the images I am showing now, you can clearly see that the rear sight is not centered in the slide, and that the left edge is actually off of the slide. I always start my shooting session with a sight picture as close to the center of the target as possible. Then, I can adjust as necessary to bring the hits where I want them, or at least close to where I want them. The rear sight was just too far left for me to bring it in where I needed to. I began compensating by moving the sight picture to the location shown. Aside from the 2 or 3 shots that were a fault of mine, the grouping of body shots started to fall into place, albeit still left of center. Now, this pistol does not belong to me. It belongs to my son-in-law, and I am not one to adjust sights that may be adjusted for somebody else's eyes. So, I am just going to work with what I have, do the best I can. The Witness is a compact, all-steel, 45 ACP calibered pistol that was intended for duty use, concealed or not. Although heavy, it does feel good in the hand and is very reminiscent of CZ pistols, just a bit wider because of the chambering. I may be incorrect in my thinking here, but with the exception of the now discontinued CZ97B, a full-size 45 caliber pistol, CZ never did make a compact 45 caliber pistol. European American Armory no longer imports Tanfoglio products. The Italian Firearms Group, or IFG, is now the exclusive importer of the Tanfoglio brand. The Italian Firearms Group was established in 2010 and imports guns of several manufacturers, including Tanfoglio. IFG and Tanfoglio have expanded their relationship, and from now on, Tanfoglio will only be available from IFG's family of dealers and distributors. I can attest to the quality of Tanfoglio pistols, having handled and shot them in the past. For a compact 45 ACP caliber pistol, a pistol that I would consider as a double-action, single-action alternative to an officer model 1911 in some respects, would have been a fine carry in its time, and could be considered as a fine personal defense assistant even in today's time. In fact, I would consider it over a comparable size pistol, regardless of the weight, as compared to a polymer pistol like the Glock G36. But that's just my line of thought. So it's time to close this chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicles. Thank you for staying with me through this journey of mine. I hope to see you again. Until that time, stay vigilant, stay armed, and stay safe out there.